my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the bad movies of yesteryear. Now, Chris, what we're going to review this week?
Well, Dave, it's Dylan's pick, one of our patrons and good friends, and we're going back to the year I was born. So this one stars Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep, John Savage, and the late, great John Cazale. So this one is Deer Hunter. So I know we talked about it briefly last week, but have you any recollection of ever seeing this one, Dave, at some point?
I haven't seen this before, and it's one of those movies, though, that it's been around forever. And I was saying this on another podcast the other week, that it's like, I've almost convinced myself that I've seen it. You know, I thought, I must have seen at least bits of it or something, just because it's always been there. And I'm sure I must have remembered people talking about it when I was a kid or something. But again, I just don't recall ever having seen this actual movie. I probably had the same perception of you, or as you rather, that, it's a fucking film about hunting. It's going to be like Moby Dick, but it's a deer or something like that. And obviously not really understanding the poster, like everything's there, isn't it? The red sort of headband thing and the gun and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I sort of get it now. So yeah, just never watched this. And I'm repeating myself, but I think there's probably a lot of gems in the 70s. I mean, this came out after Star Wars, so, you know, technically I could have been watching it at some point, but yeah, it's not one that mum and dad would have been putting on for me, like Star Wars. You know, let's have a break from Star Wars. Let's put this Deer Hunter on. So yeah, I'm really glad of the pick. It's one of those. It feels like a movie that I should have watched but haven't. And so now I can actually say I've watched it. How about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, I think I probably sit around about the same sort of thing. There's no way we would have watched it as kids at all. And knowing that it's 3 hours, Dave, there's not a chance. I mean, this probably would have been a BBC Two, Channel 4 late at night type movie, maybe BBC Two because the adverts. If Channel 4 had put this on at 3 hours, it'd been on for about 5 hours, wouldn't it? So it's probably been on the UK TV at some point, realistically, probably BBC Two, BBC One, but it would have been mainstream. I've seen the VHS cover, like I say, it would have been out as we were kids. I've definitely heard about it, and like you, as I said, I thought it was about fucking hunting or something. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, right, okay, so it's nothing like what I thought for 46 years that this movie was about. It just never would have appealed to me at all. And the fact that it was out the year I was born, unless it was a car chase or a martial arts movie, there's no way I would have even attempted to watch this. So I'm glad that, Dylan's picked this as well, because it's one of them movies that you think, yeah, I can tick it off the list and say, yeah, I've watched it. But also, how does it stand up 46 years later? Because, like I say, it's out the year I was born. So interesting. And I think as well, one of the things as well is the fact that he stars John, I think he's John Cazale, the one he's out of The Godfather. He's Fred. Good friends of Robert De Niro, but he's critically ill in real life. He's got terminal lung cancer at this point, he died pretty much after. They had to do his scenes at the start of it. And I know that everyone recognises the 4 or 5 movies he did from The Godfather, and that were just absolutely epic movies. So, a great actor gone too soon. But yet again, the legend of who he was as an actor, and such a good friend with Robert De Niro. So, and De Niro paid for his insurance, didn't he? They wouldn't insure him because of his cancer diagnosis. And he was like, no, and he paid it all, De Niro, for him. Which is, and I know you've probably read that in the trivia. So quite intrigued to watch it, but I just didn't know what to expect and how it will stand up like all these years later.
Yeah, and I'd read that Meryl Streep said, "Oh, she'll quit the movie if he's not kept on." But I'm like, really? She was very early in her career then, so I don't think she'd have the sway at that time. I'm not sure I quite believe that bit of the trivia, but yeah, I tell you the other thing that's interesting about watching this movie in particular. So obviously it being 78, you're talking about 3 years after the end of the war. Now in the 80s, there's so many Vietnam movies, wasn't there? And it's more the 80s Vietnam movies that I remember. And we've done stuff like Full Metal Jacket, we did First Blood, going way back. And so I Missed in Action 2, which I'm sure is massively influenced by this. So I think I remember those 80s Vietnam movies a lot more than this, but this was kind of almost the start of it, wasn't it? There's this and Apocalypse Now and things that kind of came out, and then again, it's probably the mid 80s where you're getting that peak sort of Vietnam movie cluster, where basically Chuck Norris fucking going over and winning the war, re-winning the war, if you like, and rewriting history a bit. So I think for the historical significance, again, when I'm a kid, right, if something happened before I was born, it might as well have been in Roman times, right? Yeah. Just that's how my head works. So people go on about England winning the World Cup in 1966, and in my head, I'm like, it's fucking ancient times, So thinking about the Vietnam War finishing in 1975, it just blows my mind a bit when you think how recent it was. Because you think about 3 years ago from now, we were probably already coming out of lockdown. It just, I guess the older, the longer I've been on the planet, the less a few years seems to mean, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, I guess this was the start. Definitely not the same as stuff like Cannon's Missing in Action movies. But yeah, it seems like this is one of the starts of it. Start of that whole genre, if you like.
Yeah, I think you're right. And obviously with something like the war and the Vietnam War, and like you say, we've seen so many things, even like say Full Metal Jacket, things like that. You're touching on such important things. I think this, and I'll get into it when we talk about it, this is like, I suppose it's a bit more realistic. Obviously fucking, Missing in Action 2, he's eating a fucking live rat, and they put a bag on his head, Chuck Norris, and fucking Rambo's just, he's got the PTSD, but then he absolutely just loses it, doesn't he? It doesn't take much for him to go. The chief of police is just the sheriff, he's an arse, and then it's all that. So there's all these movies about like the effects of war and how it affects like the families, then the person themselves, whether it's a man or a woman, how they came back from war and had to navigate normal life when they were living in the trenches, sort of thing, seeing all these atrocious things. So yeah, so it's quite interesting, these movies. They're always pretty sad as well, aren't they? That's the thing. Whenever you watch them, they're a different tone of movie to watch. We do, really, aren't they? So it'll be quite interesting when we get into it, like what we both think of it. But yeah, I'm glad we've done it anyway, and I'm glad I've watched it. I must admit, even if it is 3 hours long, and I was like, oh my God, fuck my life at one point. But there you go.
So on that note, should we get into our trailer?
Let's go.
What are you thinking of going deer hunting tonight? Or not tonight? I'm getting married tonight. You guys are going deer hunting?
Robert De Niro is the deer hunter. It's about being a hunter. It's about being a friend.
I said no.
It's about being a leader.
From now on, you're on your own.
It's about being a soldier.
Well, what's it like over there?
It's about being a hero.
One shot. One shot is what it's all about. A deer has to be taken with one shot. I try to tell people that. They don't listen.
It's about being a man. Robert De Niro, the deer hunter.
Probably so. Yeah, fine.
Don't leave me over there. You just don't leave me. You gotta promise me that, Mike. Mike! You gotta promise. Definitely. Hey, Nicky. Huh? You got it, buddy. You got it.
Oh, Michael!
You hear anything about Nick?
He's AWOL, that's all we know. Okay, what do you like to call me now?
Could be back.
Linda?
Linda, I just want to say how sorry I am about Nick. Champagne glass. When a man say no to champagne, he say no to life.
Can't we just comfort each other?
No, I can't. No, I gotta get out. What are you doing? What's the matter with you? It's Mike. Tell me it's Mike. You know it's me? It's Mike. Don't you recognize me? Don't you recognize me? Tell me it's Mike. Tell me it's Mike. I came 12,000 miles back here to get you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Nicky, I love you. You're my friend. Don't do this to me.
One shot.
One shot.
Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep, John Savage, John Cazale, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, The Deer Hunter, a film by Michael Cimino.
In 1968, three friends are in a tight-knit Slavic American community in western Pennsylvania. Mike, Stephen, and Nick working at... It's like fucking children's CBeebies thing there. And Johnny. Mike, Stephen, and Nick work in a steel mill and hunt deer with their friends Stan and Peter, along with bartender John. Mike, Stephen, and Nick are preparing to leave for military service in Vietnam. Stephen is engaged to Angela, who's secretly impregnated by another man. Mike and Nick are close friends who live together and both love Linda, who will be moving into their home to escape her alcoholic father. While dancing at Stephen and Angela's wedding, Linda accepts Nick's spontaneous marriage proposal. Nick implores Mike to ensure he returns from Vietnam. Mike, Nick and their friends go on a final hunting trip. Mike kills a deer with a single shot. Now, Chris, what do you reckon to the opening of this movie?
I thought you were going through the whole movie then, Dave. That was intro.
No, that was like the first 10 minutes or so.
It was? No, it wasn't, Dave. It's a 3-hour movie. That was the first 45 minutes. No, I think watching this, what was weird is obviously De Niro in it, his stock was high at this point. Obviously, never really lost, has he? That level of like aura as an actor. Mm-hmm. And you can see this is like full Robert De Niro, method actor, everything about him, Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep. You've got this cast, and like years later, these are just huge. De Niro was the biggest, star in this movie. But I get like, for me, it's pretty fucking boring, this movie, if I'm honest. And I feel that I've missed it 46 years later, the importance of it. And obviously being from the UK, understanding about the Vietnam War, haven't got that sort of pull to what was going on. But it doesn't, still understand like what the characters are going through in the movie. But it feels like a TV movie in some respects. Like, I've mentioned it a couple of times in here, and I'm probably completely wrong because I've not watched it for years, but like the Sutherlands, like I used to go on about it, the Sullivans on the Aussie drama about like World War II and everything, and all the men go off and they come back to beat. And I don't know, there's a weirdness to this movie that it feels like I'm watching a TV series from years ago about war. I can't put my finger on it because I feel like the acting's really good in it and that, but it's just fucking boring, if I'm being honest. I was bored. 3 hours of fucking boredom, and there's only a couple of bits that are okay in it, but like De Niro just eats every single scene up, doesn't he? It's almost as if he said, I have to be front and centre. I don't give a fuck whether you're coming on Meryl Streep or John Cazale, you're coming on. He has to be the most important person in that movie. And I do feel like the best character is probably Christopher Walken's character.
I think the individual performances are absolutely a highlight of this movie and definitely elevate this movie. Now, I will say I found it a massive slog. I think going through it, I'm like, okay, you know, sometimes you have a 3-hour movie, but it doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie because things are moving at a pace, you know, and keeping you interested. This was not that. But I think that's intentional as well. We always say, you know, going back to the 70s movies, they were at a different pace back then. But what I will say is, I don't think I get it. I don't think I get the love that this movie has. And I'm not sure if it is that thing of just watching it in 2025. I don't think you can understand. If you'd have gone to the cinema in 1978 and watched it then, it was probably something that you'd never seen before. So I think that's the thing where I'm like, okay, we just watched it at the different time. You know, we should have watched it years ago. Because even, you know, if I'd have watched this as like a teenager or in the 20s or something, I might have got it more then. But I just, I think I just don't get it. Apart from the performances, there are like a few things. But Chris, everyone's such a fucking bellend. You know, they are genuine dicks. You know, fucking Nick. You know, there's one bit where he's at the wedding and he sees this, sorry, not Nick, Stan. So Joe Cazale. He sees this girl getting felt up by the DJ or whatever the fuck he is, the main compere guy. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to go across and smack that bloke in a minute. And he doesn't. He fucking smacks the woman who's the one, you know, not inviting to be felt up. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And it felt like I was watching this bit of a time capsule as well. Even when they were doing the really dangerous fucking car move, you know, that truck was going along. They'd come out of work right at the start of the movie. They'd come out of work and then they're going up the fucking side, pulling off this dangerous move and stuff. Now, if you're watching Smokey and the Bandit or something, that's what you're expecting. You're expecting like car stunts and stuff. This just seemed like a bunch of blokes being fucking dicks. And I think it's supposed to show this camaraderie and this closeness. And I will get on to, I think it's an interesting choice to make them, like, basically they're Russian immigrants. They're like second generation Americans. Their parents and stuff are all Russian and they've come over there. And in the Vietnam War, obviously Russia was on the side of the North Vietnamese. So I think it's an interesting choice to throw that in, which I will get onto. So I did, during the watching of the movie, I can't say I enjoyed it massively, but it did have me thinking for like several days after.
It's funny, you know, because I think you're right. I think that's maybe what the problem is. It's like you're trying to root for people, and I ended up sort of rooting for Christopher Walken, Nick, really, and really because he's the best of a bad bunch in some respect. Like even the scene where like the guy, you know, the soldier comes back, and obviously he's there, and they go talking to, don't they? They're all pissed up, and De Niro's character, you know, Mike, sorry, he's giving him fucking aggro. At the behind, I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, they're trying to buy him a drink, and then because the guy's not speaking to him, he's obviously just seen some absolute atrocities, hasn't he? So that's why he's not speaking. He just wants to be left alone. Let me have a fucking beer. The end, sort of thing. But they can't like let him go. And it's a weird one where you're sort of like, right, okay, so I understand it. I understand what they're doing, but that's the problem. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Is they're not really likable people, are they? John Cazale's character's an absolute wank. You say about him, you know, he's just a dick, and he's standing all the way through it. He's always like on the verge of like doing something, and he even like, and the whole movie is based on Russian roulette as much as the war, the actual, you know, the gun thing and everything, which apparently never happened in the Vietnam War. But I did read that the scenes with De Niro and Cazale, they actually used a live round, and John Cazale kept checking the gun to make sure that he didn't, when it went off, he didn't fucking blow his head off. And I'm like, there's no way you get away with anything like that now. What?
So so they took it out. So apparently it was De Niro, and it's maybe a different day because we've got 3 hours of fucking movie to get through. But the whole method acting thing, I don't buy it. I just, isn't it just acting? You switch into a different character. You don't literally have to walk around off set. Go to the canteen like you fucking, this Vietnam guy with PTSD or whatever. I just, the whole method acting thing, I don't understand it because I'm not an actor, but I just don't buy into it. I don't think you have to do that. But apparently it was De Niro being all fucking method. He's like, yeah, let's put a live round in there. Now, that was in between takes, though. They weren't just trying it out, and like, fucking hell, I hope this is not the one. So they were taking it out before they'd shoot the scene. But, in De Niro's mind, I guess, that other people must have agreed with him that increased the tension on the set. So I think that was the thing. It wasn't like just, we got a fucking 1 in or a 5 in 6 chance that this is not going to blow my brains out, but got to pay the bills.
but don't you think? I mean, saying that now, like you say, that if they took it out on that's what I'd read was slightly different, but that would make sense because it'd be fucking absolutely reckless to go. Well, actually, are you sure that's not a live round? No matter how good you are as an actor or an actress, that is bullshit. But that feels like Hollywood done it. That sort of thing. They were saying like De Niro had gone to the steelworks and everything, and this guy who worked there had took him along and just said, "Oh, it's Bob," and no one realised it was De Niro and all this. And he was like learning about researching. I'm just like, it just feels like pretentious fucking Hollywood bullshit, doesn't it? I don't know why, and I like De Niro, but that sort of stuff, and as you've just said, it is, why would you want to put the fear of God? And there's scenes in the movie that they've done this where De Niro didn't know that Christopher Walken was going to spit in his face.
Yeah. And
he was fuming. He was going to storm off the set, but then the next minute he's telling him to slap Christopher Walken. The scenes where he gets slapped by the Vietnamese people, and that was all big. Some people didn't want to do it, and then it was like they're running up there saying they got people who hate Americans, and they come and give them a proper. But there was scenes where like
some Thai bloke, wasn't there?
That's what I mean. It's just like,
you'll do for me, mate.
Yeah, give him a whack. But it's that sort of like, all right, you could say, well, he's delivered on the screen, but for me, like looking back and now, I'm just like, knowing most actors and actresses are just self-centered, narcissistical wankers. It's like, I don't know where I sit with it anymore when I hear stuff like that. I'm watching it on there. I'm like, yeah, it's great. It's part of the scene. I get it. That it's what De Niro does. I don't know. I mean, did he go around as Al Capone for fucking 6 months when he was in The Untouchables? Just fucking, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It's just, there's something just bollocks about it. I know Christian Bale did the same when he played, the Bruce Wayne and the American accent, and obviously American Psycho. Well, yeah, exactly. American Psycho. It's just what I mean. It's sort of like, right, okay. So I don't know. I don't know where I sit with it. Maybe I'm just being a bit fucking miserable, but it just
jaded.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm kind of with you. It's like, okay, I need to play a role as a bartender or something. Okay, well, let me, maybe I'll go, almost like a work experience. I'll go and be a bartender for a day or something. Okay, done it for a day, nailed it. I don't need to spend 6 months, undercover or whatever in a steelworks. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of, Marlon Brando was the old classic method actor, wasn't he? But, he just seemed like an absolute fucking grifter. I don't think maybe, Superman. I actually saw an interview with Christopher Reeve, and I didn't realise, I don't think you'd see it now, but he was so vocal about how disgusted he was with Marlon Brando because he was clearly just taking the piss. He obviously didn't put it that way, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if Brando started it, but I feel like, people have wanted to emulate these great actors, and so like, all right, methods, the way to go. And I guess being spinning on a dime and being an utter hypocrite, things like, I mean, It's right at the end of the movie, isn't it, where Walken spits in his face, and then he stays in character. He's fuming, but he stays in character, and that's the scene that we see in the end. So, like I said, to be a fucking hypocrite, maybe they do it so that they, it becomes second nature to be that character. And sometimes you can capture this lightning in a bottle. You capture this great moment and the authenticity of that moment, other than, trying to fucking act it and do your job.
Yeah, like I say, it might just be me just being a bit thingy, but yeah, I find it very difficult now to sort of relate to that sort of thing. And it's an art form. I know I'm not an actor. I've not done anything. I've done a little bit of fucking background stuff where I'm fucking twiddling a pen or fucking walking in this fucking circle or something. I don't know, but
Banana
in, David. I have told you about that banana in, if you don't mind. That's a whole different fucking video. But yeah, I just... Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just fucking jaded. I'm just like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't care if you've sat in a fucking tree for 3 weeks just to play the part. Great. What they fucking do. You know what I mean? And maybe that's being completely wrong. Fine, I'm wrong. That's fine. Call me out on it. But yeah, there's just bits in this movie. It feels like at times, and I did see like the Meryl Streep, so she wrote a lot of her own lines and that, didn't she? She doesn't say a lot, but she's an important character, Linda. But then I think it's so dominated because at some point, like, he almost goes fucking Don Corleone, doesn't he? These bits in it where he is literally invincible, isn't he? Nick is invincible in this movie. The stuff that's going on and the problems and everything else, this guy is just like on another fucking level. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a dick or something, but I was a bit Robert De Niro'd out by the end of this movie, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, he was like almost Taxi Driver. Yeah, he was the main character. There's no question. Good supporting performances, like I say. I mean, everyone on screen, I thought the acting was top notch, but Walken and Meryl Streep definitely stand out. I think if this movie was made and cut today, I think you can get this movie easily down to 2 hours. Like, the fucking wedding scene. Jesus Christ, did that really have to go on for quite so long? Did we really need basically half the movie to understand that this is a tight-knit group of friends? I don't think so. And I think there was some interesting things, like the dynamics. You can clearly see that Mike is kind of like the top dog, isn't he, in the group? And, you got Stan. Again, I don't know, was this a real situation where people just go straight from a wedding in their fucking rented tuxedos and go up deer hunting? And, Stan's always forgetting, he can never be asked to prepare anything, whereas Michael's obviously he takes this very seriously. He's prepared. He's got all his right gear and stuff. And you got Stan just trying to wing it. And can I borrow your shoes, mate? No, fuck off. You always do this. And so I thought there was something interesting. I think that should have made the final cut of Dave's imaginary 2 hour cut of this. But yeah, the wedding stuff and the build up, some of the bar scenes, I just felt all of it went on for too long.
Yeah, and look, and I'm with you, because not just that, it's the fact that we go from them sort of dissing the soldier and everything to next minute they're fucking captured, aren't they? We get so much like filler stuff that really is filler stuff, and you get a load of filler stuff where you're like, right, okay, we'll go with that, that's fine. But then the next minute they're stuck under a fucking, they're doing this Russian roulette thing, which then becomes the focal point of the whole movie, doesn't it? Yeah. Really, that's like, it's like a bottle merchant thing, isn't it? You've got to do this to survive, and it's a difficult watch. It is a difficult watch because you're looking at what these poor people had to go through, and you're like, it's just like so bad, isn't it? Everything about the movie is just fucking depressing, and as it should be, because it's about a war. But it's also difficult, I feel now, to watch it and enjoy it. I found that And I did watch it one sitting. It's quite interesting because luckily it wasn't one of the ones where I thought 3 hours, oh my God, what the hell am I going to do? I might as well fucking creosote the fence panels or something while I watch it. I genuinely sat there and watched it. I did genuinely watch it. But again, very, very tough at times. And there is some good acting in it and everything. But I felt I was just taken away. There was too many things just took me away from what was going on, unfortunately. So yeah, like I say, who the fuck am I? I can see it'll be an absolute classic movie for some people, but I think watching it now, it's a difficult watch and a very long slow, because the stuff you want to see about the war is pretty much skated over in about a 20-minute segment, innit? It's all the aftermath, whereas we get this bullshit about, like you said, the fucking wedding scene. You might as well have filmed the full wedding. I mean, I'm in the process of editing our wedding from when we got married, because I've got a DVD rewrite, so I've put it all on my computer, so I'm going to cut out loads of shit, because in them videos, we just had these two guys who Sam used to work with, and this is true, they filmed our wedding, and we said the two things we want you to get is the first dance. Didn't get that, Dave, at all. Get us coming down the aisle and the first dance. No, because these two guys were just fucking filming all the fucking fit girls that were at the fucking wedding. And honestly...
It's like did you hire a cameraman who does the World Cup?
Yeah, exactly. Dave, I swear to God, these two guys, they worked with Sam, and they did it for fucking... Basically, we just bought them drinks, which is, fair enough. But they literally just filmed fucking women's fucking cleavage, arses, everything for 8 hours. So
story.
Yeah, it is. I know
we got a fucking professional cameraman for the one special day in our lives. No, I'll just buy these guys a few beers. They said they can do it. Funnily enough, didn't turn out to be fucking great.
Now you said that, Dave, 20 years later. But yeah, basically that's what happened. I'm not even lying. So I'm in the process of editing my fucking wedding video and sort of condensing it down into something a bit more thingy. But anyway, Dave, I thought, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, you fucking dick, Chris. You know what I mean? You absolute dick. But that's the truth. That is the genuine truth. Like, that's what happened. But this is what this feels like. We get so much filler shit that it's just nothing. It's not doing anything, if you know what I mean. And then you get the stuff that I really want to see. I want to see the war. I want to see everything. And we don't. We just get this thing where they're captured. And then De Niro comes up with this thing, but like, this is what we're going to do. We need more bullets. And somehow these Vietnamese soldiers who can't even speak English understand exactly what they mean by them having a go at each other. And apparently, though, Dave, there was actually live rats in there. So when Thingy Savage's character's going, rats, he is actually talking about fucking real rats. It's not supposed to. There's quite a few scenes in this they keep in the movie that are actually genuine things that happened, and they've just kept them in. They've just got that. No, I understand that, and I think that probably works more. But yeah, it's a fucking hard watch. I've got to say, it's a fucking slog and a half.
I think one of the things that rubs me the wrong way as well is it's just the way the fucking Vietnamese are portrayed. Again, for some reason in my warped brain, I can kind of almost forgive something like Missing in Action. So the reason being, obviously, I watched that as a kid, so I've got different feelings of nostalgia that come back when I think of that movie. But you've got the same themes there, where you've just got the prison guards and whatever just being sadistic. Like, they have no other goals in life other than to be sadistic, to torture the prisoners of war and that. And it's just, they're almost comical, mustache twirling villains, aren't they? It's just, I don't know, it just comes across really badly to me. I kind of get, and look, I know there were reports, pretty sure fucking every prisoner of war, people are just people, aren't they? There will be things like that, but the fact that the whole Russian roulette thing was just massively made up, I can imagine people coming out the cinemas in 1978 like, I just can't believe that this sort of stuff really goes on. And it's like, it's all just completely fucking made up. Not to mention the fact, seems a bit fucking dangerous to have someone who's got absolutely nothing to live for, even if, it's just a single round in the gun. Well, it just seems like a really bad idea, and you got people standing round and stuff. I'm sure you have bullets ricocheting. So there was something about the Russian roulette stuff where I feel like, okay, I get it, and why this film is kind of iconic and why it's so shocking at the time, but just the fact it's all made up. And I think the director said something like, "Oh yeah, but it's a metaphor, isn't it?" I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Watching it now, that was one of the things that I feel like I should watch and think, oh God, how terrible is this? And that's one of the things that grips people about this movie. It has to be, because, like you say, when they introduce that, everything after the movie almost comes back to that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just wasn't bought into it.
No, and I'm with you as well. The whole dynamic of the movie just falls a little bit flat for such a important subject and a depressing subject and a real subject. It's not, we can't have fucking, laughing but we can't have someone like fucking Burt Reynolds just fucking taking fucking beers, caused fucking light across fingered, having a good old romp and, kidnapping Sally Field and all this sort of thing. You can't always have movies like that. You can't have, the greatest martial artist ever, Lauren Avedon, who's the pinnacle of martial. You can't have movies like that. You have to have these sort of movies. And for us as like the podcast, it's such a good thing that this has been picked this week, but also like, it's so fucking depressing. And once like they get to the first scene with a proper Russian roulette, we've seen it. And, Christopher Walken's there, he's got the army stuff, then Nick's there, in the background, and you've got this whole thing again about like they're trying it again with the guns and someone gets killed and I don't know, it just seems weird. And then when Nick goes back to the America, and obviously he's then got to go back, that whole thing with like Meryl Streep's bizarre, isn't it? Like she obviously wants to be with him, but she isn't and she isn't, and I don't know, it's at times it's quite difficult to follow, because there's the scene with John Cazale's character where he's got the gun and then he pulls it on him. The scene we were talking about before with the Russian roulette, and it's like, it's quite a powerful scene. But then the next minute he's back in Vietnam, and I found it difficult to follow, I must admit. I felt like there was things I was missing and I wasn't sure why.
Yeah, I'm not sure the timeline stands up to that much scrutiny, because when Michael goes back, and I see one of the bits that I did like, and I'm talking negatively about it, but I think I'm talking negatively because I'm thinking I'm watching what I feel I should feel like this is a genuine cinematic masterpiece, and I watch it and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. And I kind of do, I get why it was, but I just don't know if it is now. I don't think, for me at least, it isn't now. But one of the things I really did like is when Michael goes back and everyone's, wanting to celebrate, whereas like he's just seen fucking horrors. Like he's not really in the celebratory mood, so he just takes a swerve of it, doesn't he? He goes to see Linda instead. So I did like that aspect, and like the fact that he's kind of got a bit of PTSD, hasn't he? But not that much. I mean, Stephen, obviously he's lost his legs and stuff, and he's not wanting to go back to the real life, because as far as he's concerned, his real life's gone. He's on the outskirts of society now. He's had his legs lopped off. He doesn't see himself as his former self, and doesn't feel like he should be included. I'm like, okay, I can see what they're getting at here, but meanwhile, Nick's still in fucking Vietnam apparently, and we only saw, he was introduced by this French guy, wasn't he, into this like underground thing where they're obviously doing this Russian roulette. At first he seems shocked by it, but all the while Michael seems to be back home for a good while.
Yeah.
At least, I don't know, it feels like months. And what's Nick doing? Is he like, is this like the Kumite? And he just wins every time. And then when Michael decides to go back, He's like, oh, right, okay, well, Nick, not looking so good, are you? He's clearly, he's clearly, I don't want to say overplaying, but I do want to say overplaying a bit the kind of PTSD side, but I don't know how much he's supposed to be whacked out on drugs as well, because he's definitely, there's a bit of soap opera in there, isn't there, where he doesn't even seem to recognize Michael. So I'm going to put that down to drugs, I think. And
sorry to cut across, I totally agree. That's what is the issue for me, was, like you say, he's got the red bandana on, and I'm like, is he like the Grand Master, the Russian? Right. Like, that's what, the timeline doesn't add up, does it? Like, has he just started doing this now? What's the score? How has he sort of come to this? He's got this fucking bandana. That, you know what, Dave, that's a very good point, because that's what I couldn't understand. I was like, there's no like sort of context of why he's in this situation, and also how has he kept surviving so much? I'm with you, honestly. I found that really bizarre. I've got to be honest, I did. I didn't understand it at all. So no, I'm glad you've said that, because I kept thinking, is it me? Have I fucking done a Chris Phelps special and not been looking? Not like me, David, but you know what I mean? Like, have I done that? Have I just completely missed what the thing was about? So no, I'm glad you've said that, because I did honestly think I'd done something wrong and I'd missed a whole part of the movie, because I was like, I don't get how he's still alive in this, like, he'd have been dead at some point.
Yeah.
Because Nick's not just gone back for a week and then gone, I tell you what, I need to go and find him. He's been back for quite a while.
It feels like it, yeah. It could be just one of those massive coincidences. Maybe Nick was just having the time of his life, whacked out on heroin, and just at the point Michael finds him, he thinks, oh, I'm going to have a go at this Russian roulette thing again. I just, whichever way you slice it, I don't think it really stands up to much scrutiny.
No, I'm with you. And I think, like, ultimately, when they do the face off together and they do it, and he's like saying he doesn't want to do it, Nick's like, are we trying to bring him home? And you know where the way the movie's going to go at this point, because De Niro's not going to end up getting killed. Nick has been, he's really struggled. The whole war thing really got to him more than probably the others, or more than the others are showing at this point. And then he does die, and then we get this really somber, depressing, like the funeral and everything, don't we? Like, it's really sad at the end, and then we get the whole, the singing, the American, like, the patriotism at the end, which I did see got a lot of stick when it first come out, because they thought he was like taking the piss, weren't they? Like the irony of the whole war thing and sending these young boys into war and everything. We like most wars when people lose so many.
I mean, I think there's a bit of an irony to it, isn't there? I don't think you can say, is this anti-war, is it pro-war? I don't really know, but I thought that actually works quite well for me at the end, because despite all this, despite going through it all, they are singing that song. They're not saying like, oh, fuck America or whatever. They've done, the people who've been away, they've done their duty. And was it Alex, actually? The guy who he goes to make all the eggs in the bag, and he's this bubbly, bigger, larger than life character in front of everyone, but then he goes to the kitchen and has a bit of a cry. And I thought, fucking hell, actually, in 1978, that's quite a big thing, I think. So again, I did like a lot about this end scene.
I think it just ties it all together, doesn't it? You can see why it is an epic, why it's rated so highly, and you can totally understand it's real. The people who would have watched this, who were at the Vietnam War, who've come back and had the same PTSD, not been able to talk about it, the lives have changed. The fact that the whole Green Beret thing, when the guy is so somber and they're giving him shit and Nick's giving him aggro, but by the end of the movie, Nick has almost become that character.
Yeah,
because at that point, it's basically saying, you've never done war. It's all right, you're saying, why am I not smiling? Why I've lost like brothers, I've lost, family, I've lost myself, basically, it'll affect you for the rest of your life. That's what they're trying to show. By the end of the movie, that's what it does. But again, Nick, he's almost like invincible, isn't he? Like nothing seems to faze him as a character. And I just find that he's the one. It's like, he's the only person who could really cope with war out of all the others, when really he's probably the most fragile, but he doesn't portray it on the thing. He is literally like a machine, which I don't think does any favours. So, yeah, the God Bless America thing ends it all. It is somber, but yeah, it does feel a lot like a TV movie to me. A very fucking long one, I'll give it that.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Dylan, for the picks to pay us to destroy your fucking beloved movie. Shall we get into our final review?
Let's go. What I'll say, Dave, going into this, and I love what you just said before the review bit, is, yeah, Dylan understands, but this is us, Dave. This is what we do as well. We're not going to sit on the fence with this. I think this is just a long, boring movie that tells a really important story, but gets lost in the fucking De Niro show. And I think there's some really good bits in it. I think Christopher Walken's excellent in it. But I just feel that I just lost interest. And the fact that the war is literally only touched on for 20 minutes when we get 2 hours of him at a fucking steel mill, or, just the whole fucking hunting thing, or they're going for drinks, the wedding scene. It's like you've spent too much time building the characters and then not showing us the bit. Well, I don't mean I want a full-on Rambo, they've gone and taken, they've been in this scene here, but then they've had to get out and then take 20 fucking battalions on, and they've survived and all that. I don't want that, like, over the top Arnie sort of things, but I would have liked a little bit more of the army and them at the barracks and the bases and everything else, the capturing, how bit more meat to it. So I feel that is what's missed, but then again, maybe that's the whole point of it. I don't know. It's not the worst movie ever, Dave. It certainly isn't. But I think we're putting in Elm Street. I won't watch this again. And the only way to suggest this to somebody, if I didn't fucking like him, and say, just watch this for 3 hours. It's a great movie. Because I thought it was bobbins at times. But it is certainly not the worst movie ever. And yeah, I was De Niro'd out by the end of it, I've got to be honest. So what about yourself, Dave?
The thing is about the 3 hours, I do feel like because of the jump in locations and jump in time, you can split this one up if you needed to. I'm not saying you could watch it as if it was 6 half-hour episodes or something, but something close to that. Certainly the whole wedding. I mean, that's the prime target for me, where it's like, look, cut most of that shit out. You don't really need to see it. Again, I said about fucking hell, we're in the 70s when Stan goes and basically cracks that woman because she's getting felt up. Just bizarre, but I mean, did we really care about Stan? The central character was Michael. I just, weird choices for me, but I think there's probably loads that, if you love this movie and you go back and you watch it, I'm sure there's more and more that you pick up on. I mean, we didn't speak as well about, obviously Michael goes on his hunt, doesn't he? So after the war and everything, and he decides not to kill the deer. I don't know what his reasons were. Maybe he's seen enough death or whatever, but that's him changing as a character. But like you said, I feel like he was just almost like the Terminator. He didn't really change that much. And so I don't know, but I'm sure there's loads that people who love this movie will pick up on. I think I liked it a bit more than you, but had you asked me right after finishing the movie, it probably would have been an Elm Street for me. But it has played on my mind a lot, and I'll talk about the fucking music as well. So I obviously have to think about it a lot after the film. But sometimes a movie leaves a bit of an imprint on you, and that was that for this movie as well. I was thinking about, again, I think the fucking Vietnamese portrayal is borderline just racism, but I think the way they were portrayed, things like that. But the fact that you did think there were people like this, the fact that they're basically second generation Americans, they're literally, their parents were from a country that's on the opposite side of the war. There's this weird subtext that everyone's so patriotic and everyone's sort of I don't know, this nationalism thing as well. So I think for me, it's a Hill Valley. I think I can appreciate, though, that for some people, I think if you'd have watched it at a different time and you love it, I think it's absolutely a Cloud City. But yeah, I don't think this movie stands up to its billing.
No, and I'm with you. So thank you for that, Dylan. I will say, whatever we've said, love the variety of movies that we have to cover, Dave. I've got to be honest. And saying that, Dave, it's my pick next week, my friend. So I know it's the year of the stitch up, and I've been like, what do I do? What do I pick? And I'm genuinely not sure. Like, do I go down the martial arts route? Do I stitch you up? Do I not? Well, there's been a movie that I don't know why, I've just not picked it, and it's in my wheelhouse. It is a Chris Phelps absolute, DNA. If he's not martial arts, it's a certain other genre of movie that I would pick, and it's not sci-fi.
It's not Wet Nurses 2, is it?
Well, what I mean? I've not done Wet Nurses 3 yet, Dave, the trilogy. No, so this movie is from 2000. It is, for me, iconic. I have a tattoo of one of the items in the movie as well on my forearm. I'm looking at it right now. And I thought, you know what, I've got to pick it. He's probably not the movie most people would pick. However, Dave, this one stars Chi McBride, Will Payton, Delroy Lindo, Giovanni Ribisi, Robert Duvall, Christopher Eccleston, Angelina Jolie, and most importantly, Dave, Nicolas Cage. This one is gone in 60 seconds. So let's get in the trailer.
Time it took you to buy your ticket. 3.2 minutes. Time it took you to get your popcorn. 2.5 minutes. Time
Mine's going to funny places here.
Hello, ladies. 60
Angelina Jolie's sexy as hell in this. Hey, have you got a character called Memphis Reigns? He's fucking legendary, Nicolas Cage.
There's some beautiful colours in this.
Oh, thank you.
You're gonna have to go old school. A day to shop, a day to prep. Surprise attack.
Nice.
Little trick I learned in the car thief retirement home.
By the time the first car's reported stolen, your ship set sail.
Oh, there she is, Dave. Eleanor, the Mustang, GT 500, 967, GT 500. Oh, I'm getting a semi on now, Dave. I'm not gonna lie. I fucking love that car.
Okay, let's run.
Nicolas Cage is ace in this.
He is very good, isn't he? And it's like toned down Cage at this point as well.
Yeah. This is a big movie for me.
Having sex. Or stealing cars.
Stealing cars while having sex would be the answer, Dave. It ain't a perfect movie, but the cars just sell it for me.
You know what's interesting about it is, in my head, this is almost... well, it was the same year as Fast and Furious, the first one, wasn't it?
Yes.
2000. But in my head, I remember watching them around about the same time and almost mentally putting them in the same kind of bracket. But watching that trailer then, it's almost what Fast and Furious became, if you like, as a franchise. Like the first couple of movies were the stunts were not at the ridiculous level, whereas some of the stunts there just seemed a bit more like later Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and like I say, there's stuff in the movie I'll talk about that I'm like, it still makes my toes curl in this, but I love fucking cars. The cars. And I think it always, I'll talk about it next week, but yeah, it always reminded me of another set of movies that were out at this time as well. So no, I can't wait for this one, Dave. I've got to be honest. I've sat on it for so long, it's been on my list, and every time I've got to pick it, I'm like, no, I'll pick something else. But no, it's time for a bit of car chasing and a bit of Eleanor, Dave. And when that car comes on the screen, one of the greatest movie cars ever made. Absolutely love it.
It's nice. I'm looking forward. I think I've literally seen this one once or maybe twice when it came out, but I don't really remember that much of it. Iconic look for Angelina Jolie. I think that was the first thing I saw her in. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, Chris.
No, good. So I haven't stitched you, Dave. Just bear that in mind for the week after.
Yeah, well, it's your choice.
Soft guys. I've started off the year out. Soft guys, we've got 6 seconds. Anyway, big thank you to Dylan. Thanks for picking that one, mate. Really good. Oh, we don't hate us too much. He's more Dave than me, to be honest. But anyway, we don't hate Dave too much. If you do want to support us, please go over to patreon.com/the VHS Strikes Back. If you want to email us, the VHSStrikesBack@gmail.com. And if you want to follow us on social media, @VHS Strikes Back. So, the roll call of honour, and a big thank you to Gareth, Mike, Lee, Helen, Dylan, Dan, Justin, Susan, Timothy, Matt, Hales, Ken, Lucky Lulu Green, Herbs, Jack, Math, Blake, John Hammond, and Mr. Tony Farina. So thank you so much, everybody, for your support. We really appreciate it. And I just know you are all dying to watch a car chase film movie next week. So I have delivered the Lord's work yet again. So buckle up, stay in. And like I say, if you've got someone called Memphis Reigns, what a name for a movie star, Dave. So brilliant.
That is a very good name. Now, Chris, for the musical number, I must admit, I finished watching this movie and I'm like, I've got nothing. I literally, I don't know. I mean, you've got that classical, we didn't mention it was by John Williams, the famous John Williams. You also had, is it Burt Bacharach or Ricky Valli, was it?
Frankie Valli.
Frankie Valli, I love you, baby. And I was thinking, do we go down that kind of sing-along 50s? And I was like, I was struggling for a few days. And then where my mind went was, I love Black Sabbath, Chris. And a lot of people think Black Sabbath and you think of the occult, you think of Ozzy biting the head off a bat and stuff like that. But they did a lot of songs on like social issues and anti-war songs and things. One of the biggest, most famous is War Pigs. And so I thought, all right, okay, maybe we'll do like a bit of a Sabbath type theme. And then so I started working on that, and then my mind went to young Dave in the early 90s watching Headbangers Ball, and imagining I'm watching this like Sabbath type song on Headbangers Ball on MTV. So that's there's a bit of a soup, there's a bit of post-editing and stuff that's gone in here that I probably won't do again, but this one is called War Deers.
War Deers.
Like walking. War Deers.
Love it.
Whoa! That's Beavis.
Yeah. Check it out.
On a steel town evening, in a rundown little bar, Mike and Nick were drinking
If I hit, I'll hit it off the head of a cow once.
Yeah, so cool. Milk poured out of his neck.
So there you go, Chris. A little bit heavier than usual.
There.
So like I say, I wanted to put something to counter the heaviness and the I mean, a lot of it's melancholy, isn't it? Like, you can't really, this isn't double trouble. But yeah, I just thought a bit of Beavis and Butthead would add something in there. But I genuinely was casting my mind back to thinking of watching this in the early 90s, watching a bit of Beavis and Butthead commentate on a particular heavy tune, probably while I was waiting for Tutti Frutti to start. But so, thanks again, Dylan. Thanks very much. Thanks to all our listeners. Thanks to all our supporters. And we'll speak to you next time. Bye.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back.
That's not. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off.
Get to the chopper!
One ring to go.
All right.
Ding, ding. Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on. Ain't so bad. Come on. You must be crazy or something. I'm crazy. You just so stupid. Yeah, maybe you crazy. I ain't breathing heavy. He's a fool. He's stupid. I've seen you at 6 I must break